Hey, what's up, everybody? Crap Gamer here. I usually don't go live as far as breaking news. It's usually something kind of interesting. If you guys understand how things work with my channel, it takes a while for me to do a video, render it, and then upload it due to some of the slower upload speeds that I suffer with. But at any rate, I think that it's interesting to at least talk about some big news on the journalism front, and that is the fact that IGN's Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller, who do like the podcast Beyond and those kind of like real pro Sony type deals, have actually quit IGN to start their own podcast. Now, you can sit there and speculate all day long, and I'm going to do a little bit of that speculation because it's kind of fun. IGN probably wants to get away from the more biased aspects. You can't have people who are self-admittedly, PlayStation fans that don't play other consoles. And Colin Moriarty in particular is that. He doesn't have an Xbox. He's supposed to be a journalist that covers everything, yet he doesn't. So the thing is, IGN maybe wants a more unbiased approach, get back into games journalism. Because you know what? Back, I would say probably 7, 8, 9 years ago, gaming journalism was actually a pretty cool thing. And you could go to these sites and you could find out about game, about, what was going on behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? You got previews, you got reviews, you had things interesting. And now these sites, particularly like IGN and GameSpot and, these other ones, turn into TMZ media sites. Now, look, I know that sounds weird coming from me because what I do is entertainment. I'm not a journalist. So there's the difference. These people are paid journalists. And with that being said, they should act that way. They should be unbiased. They should cover the entire industry and not just one particular aspect of it just because it's their favorite. That's the way it used to be. Everybody covered a little bit of everything, whether it be your favorite thing or not. The fact that Colin and Greg routinely gave PlayStation games at least a 1 point higher grade average than any other site or reviewer was also a telling tale. IGN, if you guys don't know, we're kind of mired in this whole Gamergate thing. There's a lot of things involved with that, and I don't really want to get into the whole aspect of it, but part of it is ethics in journalism and how there really aren't any anymore. All these people are connected via email and things like that, and the fact of the matter is, they talk about beforehand what they want to kill as far as stories and what they want to talk about as far as stories. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not the way you work. Just because you might be pro Sony doesn't mean you kill a story that is going to talk bad about something Sony did. You can see that IGN in particular is always late with stories, anything negative about Sony. They didn't even want to break the red line of death at launch. And I talked to Greg Miller about this on Twitter, and he says, well, it hasn't happened to us, so we're not going to cover it. But they were quick to report on the few faulty disk drives on the launch Xbox Ones. You know what I mean? Even though that didn't happen to them either. So, there's definitely a conflict of interest. They probably got pretty much fed up with that aspect of it. IGN, maybe they want to go in a direction that's more actual journalism and less TMZ because there's enough of that, and there's a lot of scrutiny and things going around with the TMZ style clickbait and all those type of things. And those guys were just, oh my God, just the king ponies with the things they'd come up with and, their own personal little thing. Like I remember when Sony announced their big deficit that they lost for the quarter, and Greg Miller was covering the fix that day, and he was like, oh, but don't worry, kiddies, Sony's going to be just fine. I mean, that's his own personal, but at a point when you're reporting that they're losing $2 billion in a quarter, how can you just, okay, no kiddies, they're going to be fine. You know what I mean? To me, that's just, not needed. You're there to report the news. You're a journalist, so get out there and report the news. Obviously, again, in case you're late in joining, Colin, Greg, and some of the others like the Podcast Beyond, the Up at Noon hosts, they're gone. They left IGN, thankfully. The bigger question is this mean that Sony's media bias is at an end? I think it does, because you're going to see more people and more places follow suit with this. For the main fact of the matter is Sony had an in with these people, right? Sony, would talk with these people. You had Yoshida on there laughing it up, and they're all having fun and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And it's one of those situations where, you know, it's hard to explain as far as from a gamer's perspective, but you didn't want to go to these sites. And I actually had stopped going to these sites. I know Next Gen doesn't use IGN or any of these big sites. And I totally unsubscribed from GameSpot. And, you know, I stopped using them after, you know, those crazy antics where the guy couldn't find settings by pressing the menu button on the Xbox One. I was like, I had enough with this, because it's not gaming journalism. It's sensationalism. They aren't YouTube entertainers. These are paid journalists. And what they're doing is showing their biased nature. And I think when you're trying to have a legitimate publication, you can't do that. That'd be like hiring me at IGN and then saying, okay, now you're going to cover PlayStation. You know, that's not going to work out too well. You know what I mean? I'm admitted that I wouldn't be a good fit for being somebody that's going to be totally unbiased. You know what I mean? I'm an entertainer, which is a lot different than a paid industry journalist, which is what these guys are. And it looks like they've started their own thing. And, you know, that's just one of those situations that I think that it needed to come. And I'm thankful that it came. And hopefully for some of these other big sites that have these pro Sony agendas is, hey, we're on to you. You know, we definitely know what's up. You can't fool us anymore. We want to know about gaming. We don't care about 1080p versus 900p. We don't care about 4 extra blades of grass. We don't care about this. We want to know, hey, is PlayStation Network down? Is Xbox Live down? Is our information compromised? What's on the horizon for this game? What's the DLC coming in on that game? What's it look like for E3? You know what I'm saying? What is this developer working on? Do interviews with developers. Show us gaming stuff. Stop sensationalize the news. This could be the shakeup that we all needed. And the funny thing is Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller and these guys think that they're going to start some kind of podcast or whatever, and that people are going to follow them over. You know, you've been anti-Xbox this whole time, and now you want to start your own thing, and you think you're going to just get like every type of gamer watching you. I think it's kind of ridiculous and funny at the same time. You know what I mean? So at any rate, you know, I just thought it was interesting to kind of talk about, and I guess NeoGAF is broken over this or whatever. Like the actual site went down, so I think that's hey, look, I just passed 10,000 subscribers. Look at that. That's pretty damn awesome. Yeah, so I think this is totally something that's going to help kill off Sony's media bias advantage that they have, and anybody that thinks that they didn't have an advantage as far as the media was concerned needs to wake up, because they clearly did. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm against any kind of, whether it be Xbox, Nintendo, you know, whatever it may be. I'm against any kind of media bias as far as professional paid journalism is concerned. If you're paid to do it, you got to be unbiased. You know, that's just how it should be. Whereas an entertainer like me, Next Gen, Showstopper, you know, we're free to do what we want because we're just there to entertain you. You know, like Zobi, he's a character. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, man, did you hear he started his own podcast, man? He hates Xbox. You know, that's his character. He's a cool guy, though. You know what I mean? That's just, he's an entertainer. That's what he's doing. He's not a paid journalist, because if he was, or any of us, of interest, and that would be pretty shitty. But I think that this is interesting for the simple fact that it looks like the tide is turning even more, and you could just tell, you know, when there was some positive Xbox news that these guys didn't want to report on it. And I can remember back when they were talking about something on that podcast, Beyond, and somebody was like, hey, go watch it. So I was watching it, and Colin was like, yeah, well, you know, nobody even games on 360 anymore. Everybody put those up, you know, it's all, but a lot of people still game on PS3, you know, and then it comes out that 360 beat the PS3 and the Wii U in sales and software. So people, in fact, weren't putting up their 360s. In fact, that's a large reason why the Xbox One hasn't sold as well as it could have, because people are very happy with their 360s. But these guys refused to admit that. It was just, oh, man, 1080p this and 60 frames per second that. And, you know, I love indie games, and Shovel Knight's the biggest announcement of all time. And you know what I'm saying? They're like the perfect Sony propaganda machine. In fact, if they want to name their podcast something different, they could be called Sony's propaganda machine, because that would be a perfect name, you know? And I think, yeah, if I wanted to do a pro Xbox podcast, I could be the Xbox propaganda machine, and it would fit. And I'm not denying that. I'm saying I'm not a paid journalist. These people are. And now, thankfully, their reign of fussiness is at an end, and I'm actually thrilled about this. This is brilliant, brilliant news. I'm really happy about this. I hope other sites follow suit with similar situations, because I think that there needs to be a shakeup in the industry with Gamergate. Kotaku's full of shit. All these places are so bad. Eurogamer, they're like tabloid rags. Used to be able to go get news information when it comes to gaming in the community, and everything wasn't so divided. Now these places play divide and conquer with their own fan base. You want hits, you want this, so you do this, and you pit the people together in the comment section because they're going to go and watch, and they're going to go make a million comments back and forth like little idiot fanboys. And so now that's at an end. The biggest ponies are gone. I'm thrilled about it. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, though. Are you guys thrilled about it? Because I think that you are. And I think that it's a good thing. And I'm excited to hear about what you guys have to think about this. I don't want to keep this video too long, but I probably will do some sort of, question answer video here in the near future for hitting the 10,000 mark or whatever. So, yeah, make sure you guys keep it here. Thank you guys for, checking everything out. And hopefully you guys enjoy my content and continue to enjoy that. And, look at this as good news, whether you're a Sony fan or whatever. Getting that biased bullshit out of IGN was important, man. Those guys were sickening to watch. So anyway, man, make sure you guys like this video and share it and do all that stuff. And thanks for watching, man. Crap Gamer out.